DJ PK, and we're joined now by Kurt Schmid, Real Salt Lake Chief Soccer Officer. Kurt, good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Good. 'Twas the night before a road playoff elimination game. How are you?
I'm good. I slept great last night, so I don't know how tonight will go.
Before we get too deep into the game, I'm curious. I remember reading these stories about Jerry West. I was just getting started as a sportscaster, and somebody wrote for the LA Times a story about, and it became legendary and got repeated, that West wouldn't watch the games. He would pace the concourse at the Forum, hear the crowd, his stomach's churning, and he'd look in a portal at the scoreboard every once in a while. And I thought, that's the craziest thing ever. And then the more I work and the more I get into it, I started to think, yeah, I kind of see how that works. Where are you? Do you like want to stand behind the bench and watch the game? Do you want to stay in a luxury seat and watch the game? Do you go in your office and try to ignore the game and do some work on some player you're scouting? What do you do?
No, I mean, no crazy idiosyncratic stuff. I think it's a Billy Bean thing too. By the way, he wouldn't watch any games. But no, I mean, I watch the game. Like I every time something like that crosses my mind, I have to remind myself that where I watch the game from, what I'm doing during the game has basically no impact on the result. So I need to watch the game. I need to know what's going on, analyze it, and form my own opinions.
As you go into this game, obviously you need to score goals. That goes without saying. And on paper, you would think that Diego Luna is your best opportunity to do that. He came out of the game with about 20 minutes or so to go in the regulation. What is his status?
He's good to go at this stage, and we're confident he can come in and make an impact in the game. I mean, I think he was maybe feeling a little something the other day, but so far so good.
Obviously, the new guys are having a huge role now, whether they're starting or they're subs. You brought in a lot of guys. Do you feel like you've seen the players that you brought in, or is that just not fair coming in, not even midseason, but 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through the season, and we can't really evaluate the new guys till we get to next season?
I won't say what's fair and what isn't fair. I mean, people can certainly make whatever assessments they want. Fans can. That's their right. That's what they get to do. I would say that I don't think we've seen the best from those guys, and that's totally normal. I think it does take some time to adapt to our league, and it's less, it's more the exception than the rule that guys will hit the ground running and score goals and get assists and be dominant from the first minute. But I think each of those guys has come on and played better and better as they've gotten more comfortable and they've settled. And, obviously a preseason will help all of them, any of them, it always helps. I mean, you guys and the fans can judge them whenever you feel is appropriate. But obviously internally we're looking at it and we think there's more in the tank for all those guys.
Your goalkeeper, Zach McMath, has had an interesting season. You can argue up and down. I'm wondering if you feel like he's got his mojo back in the way he performed the other night in Game 1.
Yeah, he had a great game. Was very confident, played well, made saves, was brave, made himself big, helped us in distribution. Without having sort of every game pulled up in front of me right now, I'd say it's maybe his best game of the season, probably his best game of the season, and that's fantastic for us. I mean, if we're gonna make the run that we think we should make, then our goalkeeper needs to be on top of his game, and it was great to see him bring that performance and have I know he's got the confidence now to do that again.
Is it fair to say that and acknowledging that he made some really, really good saves in that game, is it also fair to say the guys are defending better as a group in front of the goalkeeper than they were when the goals were piling up? Because I think that's just one goal in the last 4 games now allowed.
I think, yeah. I mean, look, the defending is a team effort, right? And it starts with our center forward, and ends with our goalkeeper, obviously. But everyone has a role in how we press and how we defend. And obviously, one of the tenets of what we're trying to do is win the ball as high at the field as possible, so that we can convert that into attack. So everyone's got a role in defending. I think everyone's sharpened up, but sure, guys are defending. We want guys to defend better, but you look at our back line, obviously we've missed Brian Vera the last 3 games, and we've had 2 different people now deputize for him due to injury, and I thought the defense put in solid performance regardless. It was a little bit of not a makeshift, but a new back line together.
It's a pressurized situation, any postseason at every level, really, and obviously at the professional level, it's multiplied. How does management handle its message to the team as far as dealing with pressure?
You mean from the coaching staff or from the front office?
Yeah, well, starting at the top, moving down, and obviously Pablo would have a lot of influence in that. What have you been able to see?
Yeah, I think Pablo's good about getting the guys fired up and making them confident to perform at their level. And I think dealing with pressure is not necessarily, doing anything, I guess, different than you've done all year. It's having the confidence to keep doing what you've been doing all year in a game that obviously means more. And so I think that, Pablo and the staff does a good job of preparing the guys. I think, obviously, if you feel more prepared, then it takes some pressure off. You know what the plan is. You know what your job is and what you're supposed to do. We've got some experienced guys that have been in pressure situations before, and so they know how to deal with it. They don't necessarily need to be taught, and their influence on some of the younger guys helps as well.
We're joined right now by Kurt Schmid, Real Salt Lake Chief Soccer Officer. You talk about leaning on what they've done all year, and I guess that brings us back to the mid-season acquisitions. Those guys can't do that, and I think that's always assumed that it's a negative, but I wonder how much it can be a positive. The other team doesn't have a full year of tendencies and scouting on him. Marchuk especially, he's playing more minutes. He seems to have settled in pretty quickly. There may be even better stuff in front. But is there a chance he can do something surprising in a big moment and make a big play, because one moment is the difference between winning and losing?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly less tape, less film on those guys, and they can be a little bit less predictable for the opponent. I think the biggest impact that those signings have on our team at the moment is the increased level of depth, and so having not just a good 11 to start the game, but having multiple impact players to bring in off the bench as the game wears on. And so I think that wasn't a luxury that we had maybe at times this year, and I think that it's something that we've got now where we can bring guys off the bench to impact the game in a positive way.
How did you notice, or what did you see as far as the players been able to put the loss behind them? I mean, it's a devastating loss in the moment, but it easily can be reclaimed, whatever you lost. Not easily, but you have the format to go about doing it.
I think everybody just deals with it in their own way. It's devastating. I don't like that word because devastating almost implies that there's no way back. But I think it's a disappointing moment, right? And how everyone deals with that disappointment in their own way. That occurs that evening, right? And the next day when you show up at training, the focus is not on the last game; it's on the next game, because the last game becomes irrelevant if we take care of business going forward. And so I think that's the mindset that guys take into that. But yes, it's a disappointing moment, and everyone has their own way of sort of handling that at that time. But I hate the word. Don't use the word devastating, but it is a disappointment.
It does seem, though, that when you look at championship teams, there would often, not always, but often there's this moment where they're tested. And there's a moment where it can go either way. And something that's at least disappointing, if not devastating, galvanizes them, and they grow from it and they become more than they were. Or every playoff in every sport, I think we can look and say that team realized they weren't going to do it and they let go of the rope.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean, look, the result of the game was 0-0. It was another draw. It sort of extended a streak, that we've got going as far as unbeaten. But ultimately having lost the shootout, it goes down as a loss. So hopefully it's a way of creating that. It creates that disappointment that we can use as motivation for obviously this next game and a game 3.
Do you believe in the law of averages, or as Matt Harpring once called it, the law of numbers? This is 5 straight games that have been tied here. This is just an incredible series of draws. Somebody's got to win in 90 minutes at some point, right?
I'm not sure that's the law of averages, but I do believe in that people tend to, or not people, but everything tends to regress to their mean, and so you can't overperform your level too long. You can't underperform it too long. That over enough time you'll get to your level. I mean, to your point, there's been a lot of minutes against this team with not a lot of goals. I think some of that owes to the way that they set themselves up, especially when they've come here, and they've been very content to to take minimal risk and hope that something comes their way and just keep it tight at the back. And sometimes, as they've got a new coach and some new players, and that's sometimes a quick way to galvanize a group and get things heading in the right direction. And to their credit, they've done that. And so now it's incumbent upon us to break them down. So, I think it's about trying a few things that are obviously a bit different and, using it, new tactics, new strategies, even new people at times to break down their block and create those moments. I mean, but you even look at the last game, and it just drives home the idea that games, how much games the game state is relevant and how much goals can change games. We get, I think it's 12 minutes in. Diego, Dom gets around the corner, cuts the ball back to Diego. Diego's in a great spot. Gets a good shot off. And St. Clair makes an amazing save. And I don't think that was a moment that, psychologically kind of crushed us or crushed them or helped them or anything. But it was a moment where if we scored that goal, it changes the game, right? And we don't score the goal. And so, it has an impact on the rest of the game, obviously. So, as many people are fond of saying, goals certainly change games, and the game state matters a lot in terms of how each team needs to play.
Kurt, we appreciate the time. Good luck Saturday night. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Kurt Schmid, Real Salt Lake's Chief Soccer Officer. When we come back, your feedback next.